When I reviewed Rainswept back in 2019, I was quick to proclaim that Frostwood Interactive was a developer worth paying attention to. I loved the quirkiness of the point-and-click mystery and named it one of my favorite games of that year. Unfortunately, I ended up hating their follow-up title, Forgotten Fields, an adventure where we're forced to hang out with one of the most insufferable video game characters of all time. Now comes Frostwood's newest release, Unwording, a game about overcoming depression. Will this restore my faith in the once promising developer? Or is it another agonizing trip to the Forgotten Fields? That's what I intend to find out when I review Unwording. Like a lot of short, bite-sized puzzle games that address difficult topics, it's hard to talk about Unwording without spoiling something. Perhaps it'll be the overall trajectory of the downtrodden lead character, or the solution to one of the many puzzles found in the 2-hour adventure. But something is definitely gonna be spoiled. If you intend on playing this game and don't want any of the surprises to be ruined, then you should probably stop watching this review and just go and play the game for yourself. It's short, reasonably fun, and it's the only game that I've ever played to suggest that all you need to cure depression is a little bird poop. Okay, maybe we need to back up and put that into context. Unwording is a game about an unnamed man who is suffering from a crippling bout of depression. He lives in a city full of strangers, has a thankless office job with rows of cubicles, and can barely bring himself to eat the food that he orders from Grubhub every night. He's haunted by the self-defeating thoughts of not making enough money, not having enough friends, not living in a nice enough apartment, not falling in love, and not having any real hopes or ambitions. Every day is the same. We're all stuck going around in circles, just doing the same thing every day until we eventually eat our own tail. The man's depression is conveyed through a series of puzzles that turn regular, everyday phrases into demotivating thoughts. For example, when the man overhears a conversation going on between co-workers, you rearrange the letters to create a paranoid phrase about how everybody's gossiping about that one depressed guy. You do this by flipping the letters around, almost like it's a series of letter dice, and then you rearrange them in the right order to create some sort of critical thought. These puzzles help to show the man's inner dialogue and how he sees the world around him. But then, one day, all of this is interrupted by a small, yellow bird that builds a nest on the man's windowsill. This, you see, is where the bird poop comes in. All of a sudden, the bird forces the man to see everything from a new perspective. The bird will literally smack into the puzzles, turning them from 2D to 3D. With the bird on his side, the man begins to see solutions where he once saw obstacles. Instead of wallowing in loneliness and feeling bad for himself, maybe the man should open up to the people around him and, I don't know, throw a party. Everybody loves a party. Of course, it's not just the puzzles that turn 3D, but also the way that you start to view the world. That's one of the clever things that the game does, is it shows you the gradual progression out of depression. There are a few different visual upgrades that happen throughout that 2-hour adventure. I like how each of them comes with their own types of puzzles. This is good visual storytelling, and it's easy to see why a developer would be so excited about this concept. Unfortunately, as a game about overcoming depression, I feel like Unwording bites off more than it can chew. I joke that this is a game where bird poop cures depression, but it's kinda true in this example. Here's a guy who's completely given up on life to the point where he's not even eating, and suddenly a bird comes into his life and completely changes his outlook? Look, I get what they're going for, but the whole thing just seems rushed and feels too easy. There are never any setbacks, and the speediness of his healing really undermines the severity of his depression. As somebody who's dealt with this kind of thing in the past, I found that the solution came across as too simple and unrealistic. But hey, it's just a game, and I can overlook a few rushed details if the puzzles are fun. Unfortunately, they aren't. Once again, I feel like I need to praise Frostwood Interactive for coming up with a series of word puzzles that are at least unique and unlike anything that I've seen before. The problem isn't that they aren't original, but rather that they're frustrating in all the wrong ways. Rearranging the letters is especially tough when you don't even know where to start. There are just so many different options that the whole thing can be overwhelming, which is probably why the game gives us a couple of hints that we can use. The second type of puzzle is a little bit easier, but it's also frustrating in a completely different way. The idea is to move the letters and blocks around in a 3D space in order to spell out different words. The good news is that the game will alert you when you're close to spelling a word. But this can also be infuriating when you have no idea what you're looking for. And this frustration only gets worse with the next type of puzzle, which essentially turns Unwording into a text adventure. There was one puzzle that wanted me to type the exact word that the game was looking for, but I simply couldn't think of it. I spent a good 10 or 15 minutes just blankly staring at the screen until I accidentally stumbled into it. At this point, I'm not even sure I'd call this kind of thing a puzzle. All this is especially frustrating because the concept is so good. I like the idea of watching the world and the puzzles change as you break free of depression's nasty grip. The way the game conveys all of this is smart, and the visual storytelling is spot on. Look, this is the kind of small, personal game that I want to champion. After all, I appreciate that it's at least trying to say something, even if it's not fully successful. The problem is that the obtuse puzzles keep getting in the way, and the bird poop solution undermines what could have been a thoughtful game about overcoming depression. Unwording is a missed opportunity on so many levels. What should have been an emotional and inspiring story about overcoming depression and seeing the world from a new perspective ends up being incredibly shallow in a way that completely minimizes the problem. The puzzles do help to mix up the gameplay, but each type is frustrating in a new and unique way. Unwording is a game that desperately wants to say something profound, but instead all we get is bird poop. Hey, thanks for watching our review. If you liked what you saw here, then you should know that we post new reviews and features almost every day. Now, here's the question I have for you. What is your go-to game when you're feeling down? What game makes you feel better? For me, it's Rock Band. Or, I guess these days, Rock Band 4. No matter how terrible things are in the world, there's just something about hearing great music and having people cheer for me that really makes everything better. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back later this week with more reviews. But, yeah, we'll see what happens. It's my birthday, so who knows what I'll end up doing. While you wait to find out, I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.